Wait, so you mean that the story that we've told you over and over and over and over again is actually true? That when Trump found out that Epstein was a total creep, he cut him out of his life and banned him from his properties? He actually did something to protect women? While at the same time, countless Democrats in Epstein's life kept a close relationship with him despite knowing that he was a creep, despite knowing that he was victimizing young women and minors. They were the ones that Jeffrey Epstein liked. They were the ones texting him, having dinner with him, visiting him, asking him for campaign funds and dating advice. Trump found out he was a creep and cut him off. Democrats knew he was a creep and brought him in closer.
What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you guys pulling up today. We got to talk about it, man, because you know it's bad when CNN has to come out here and actually defend the president. Hit the like button, share the video. We got a lot to get into today. Let's go.
Breaking news, the Wall Street Journal is out with a new report describing the fallout between President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. The Journal reports that a spa worker from Mar-a-Lago often made house calls to Jeffrey Epstein's home, 2 miles away. But those house calls, quote, came to a halt in 2003 after an 18-year-old beautician returned to the club from a house call to Epstein and reported to managers that he had pressured her for sex. The HR manager faxed Trump a letter suggesting that the club ban Epstein, and Trump agreed, which does mirror the president's own public comments about why he cut ties with Epstein. The White House is responding to the Wall Street Journal, writing, no matter how many times this story is told and retold, the truth remains President Trump did nothing wrong, and he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago for being a creep.
He cut ties with Jeffrey Epstein long before Epstein became a convicted sex offender. A lot of Democrats didn't, and it is corroborated by the Wall Street Journal tonight.
Yeah, listen, I'm sure Abby Phillips did not enjoy having to do that. I'm sure she didn't, but family, here we are. This is one of CNN's biggest hosts. It's one of their more popular shows, although most of their shows aren't that popular, but it's one of the more popular shows on CNN. And this happened on live TV. And they had to admit that Donald Trump was actually telling the truth about his last contact with Jeffrey Epstein. And the crazy thing here is, for years, the left has tried to frame the Epstein story as Trump's scandal. They swore that, hey, we're winning this narrative war. Every photo, every recycled headline was used to suggest that Trump stayed close to Epstein. But that's the furthest thing from the truth. And now CNN, not Fox, not Newsmax, not conservative network or, Republican, type network or a network that more favors the right. No. It was CNN. And they are confirming what Trump has consistently said for over a decade. Abby Phillips had to acknowledge that the report shows Trump cut Epstein off and kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago after learning who the dude actually was. Hey, I'm glad they're deciding to do some type of real journalistic work, but we're still not buying it.
Epstein has a certain reputation, obviously. I'm just curious. Were some of the workers that were taken from you, were some of them young women? Were some of them young women?
Well, I don't want to say, but everyone knows the people that were taken. And it was the concept of taking people that work for me is bad. But that story's been pretty well out there. And the answer is yes, they were. Yes, they were getting out of it.
What did they do?
In the spa.
In the spa.
Yeah. People that work in the spa. I have a great spa, one of the best spas in the world in Mar-a-Lago.
Smooth plug.
People were taken out of the spa, hired by him. In other words, gone. And other people would come and complain, this guy is taking people from the spa. I didn't know that. And then when I heard about it, I told him, I said, listen, we don't want you taking our people, whether it was spa or not spa. I don't want him taking people. And he was fine, and then not too long after that, he did it again, and I said, out of here.
Mr. President, did one of those stolen, persons that include for Virginia free?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people. Yep. He stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us, as you know. None whatsoever.
Yeah. So I'm glad you guys got a chance to hear that for yourself. I'm sure you've already heard it before, but there's a lot of people out there, that have been trying to paint this picture that the president had this close, intimate relationship with Epstein. And, That's not the case, and he's refuted it a multitude of times, and I'm glad that it's finally starting to come out. But what's really weird is that you got people on the left clawing and clamoring, for these files to come out. But where was that smoke 3-4 years ago? Seriously, where was the smoke? None of these people were clamoring for these files to come out. All of a sudden, that is the case. I mean, it's really and truly one of the biggest psyops out there, in my opinion, that they're pushing for this now all of a sudden. Where was this at a year ago?
On the campaign trail and hasn't delivered them. Why haven't the Epstein files been released to their full to their full extent by the deadline? It's because we know that Trump is
Ryan, why weren't you
calling
calling for the release of the Epstein files when Joe Biden was president?
And delivered another.
Why weren't you calling for that?
Yeah. Why weren't they released? It's because there was.
Why weren't you calling for the release of the Epstein files when Joe Biden was president?
That's a great question, and shout out to CJ Peterson, man. He's absolutely right. Where was the smoke? Seriously, where were all the people out there calling for this a year, 2 years ago? It seemed to be only people on the right clamoring for this information to be released.
All right, why weren't you calling for them then?
Quick answer, then we got to
go.
There
was still an ongoing investigation until 2022.
So you didn't care.
That was appealed
you didn't
until
care
2025.
Then.
There was an ongoing investigation, and that investigation led to prosecutions. The same prosecutions, by the way.
It's unfortunate that you didn't care about the victims of Jeffrey Epstein until it was politically opportunistic for you.
Unfortunately, we're out of time. We could go all day with this.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. They realized that, or they figured that, hey, we can use this information. It could be valuable to us politically. And so we're going to go full speed ahead with this narrative. And I am of the opinion at this point that a lot of these people are just bought and paid for. And what I mean by that is those on the left. They're bought and paid for. There's already been reports and articles that have come out that a lot of these people, man, they get basically told what to say. They're paid for posts. They're paid, for shows. They're paid to push certain narratives. And at this point, I don't know if we can believe a lot of these folks that quote unquote call themselves liberal commentators or whatever the case may be, especially those on corporate media. Can you really trust it? How many videos do we have to see of these people spewing the same exact talking points over and over and over and over again? Before we realize that, hey, it's not a lot of authenticity there, to say the least.
He did something that I didn't see coming. He said, the hell with it, open the files. I'll sign to open the files. No problem. And the first words that came to my mind was, uh-oh. Because Donald Trump is not going to do that if it's going to be something that significantly hurts Donald Trump. He's going to do it if, dare I say, he's got something on other people. Because that is who we know him to be, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it is. There's no way around this. And sure enough, one of the first names that came out was Larry Summers, who worked as the Treasury Secretary under the Clinton administration, who worked on economic policies for Barack Obama, who was religiously associated with the left, who was still teaching at Harvard, and then ultimately had to step back and step away from public settings and things of that nature, scale back his role within the last 24 hours because he was one of the names that appeared in the Epstein files. He was somebody that knew Epstein. He was somebody that kept in constant contact with Epstein. He was somebody that Epstein had influenced and coaxed Epstein into donating millions upon millions of dollars to Harvard University. I mean, in excess of $9 million. Okay? This is the kind of stuff that was happening. And you found yourself saying, oh, damn. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you, that's exactly what you should be thinking. It should be, oh, damn.
But why? And why is it always, oh, Trump's going after these people? Why is that always the narrative? My question to you guys in the comment section, why can't it be, hey, he's just doing what needs to be done to protect himself? It seems like, a lot of these folks out here suffer from very wicked cases of Trump derangement syndrome, and they're willing to do any and everything to try to take this man down. And that has been the case, and it showcased itself over the past, 3 or 4 years or so. And now, when things like this come about, they're like, oh, he's got something up his sleeve, like he's some type of magician or something. I just don't get it, man.
Because that's just the first shoe to drop. Why is Larry Summers bothered? Why does he have to step away? Why has his reputation been impugned to some degree? It's very, very simple when you think about it. The reason that it happened was because there were emails. And those emails revealed that this man that had been married for decades was asking Jeffrey Epstein for dating advice. And we don't know all the details about it, but this man that had been married for decades needs dating advice. Obviously, it wasn't to date his wife. And not only was he communicating with Jeffrey Epstein prior to Jeffrey Epstein being arrested and indicted back in 2007, 2008, whenever it was, this was a year before Epstein had committed suicide, reportedly. In like 2018. And he's in there asking for advice on how to pick up this woman. After the man had been associated with sexual assault and sexual offenses of minors, you were still communicating with him. Is that somebody that you asked for dating advice from? He did. He did. And then as you look and you scour the internet and you see old footages, we've seen old footages of Michelle Obama. We've seen old footages of Barack Obama. We've seen old footages of Bill Clinton. Ladies and gentlemen, do you really, really think that Donald Trump is going to sign off on releasing the Epstein files and not have a boatload of stuff that he's going to throw in the Democrats' direction? At some point in time, we got to fall back to what one of my boys, Jeff Brown in L.A. said. He said, Trump has become a verb. The name Trump has become a verb. He's trumping the Democrats at every turn.
Stephen A's a trip, man. But there's some validity to his statement there. There's some validity there. But, hey, I want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on all of this? Seriously, what are your thoughts? I want to hear. Let me know. Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Turn those notifications on so you never miss an upload. Consider joining the ARP family or buy your brother a coffee. That link's in the description box below. I appreciate the love, support, man. Really appreciate you guys, man. I hope you had a great year for 25. Looking forward to a great 2026. I want to hear from you guys in the comment section, man. As always, keep God first, stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you all next time, man. Take care. Peace.
Vibes so raw, can't hide the truth. Words so sharp.